Thank you everyone for coming. Our in-service tonight that Claudia is going to be giving is on OSHA and the TB requirements, tuberculosis training. So the CDC has finally come around for home care. In hospitals and facilities, no one had to keep getting PPDs every year. But home care you did. That's why we keep calling people in to have your PPDs every year. And so the CDC has now decided that when you have your two-step, which I have to have for everybody that's been hired, or a chest x-ray, now it just requires a yearly questionnaire. So you don't have to keep coming in and getting injected. But it's really important that you do it on time. Like for the chest x-ray people, which a lot of you are, I believe, and the PPDs, when they say come into the office, at least you don't have to come back again. All you gotta do is fill out that questionnaire. And it's changed a little bit, but they're going to be really strict on this now, since they're not making us do it every year, that questionnaire is filled out on the date it's due. So if everybody would just keep that in mind. Also, part of the requirements, since they loosened that a bit, is that we have TB training yearly. So we'll include that in the OSHA, which we have to do as well, you know, just to give you any updates on anything what's happening with tuberculosis. As you know, North America tuberculosis is extremely low. You know, that's why the CDC kind of loosened those guidelines. It's such a low incidence in North America. It's amazing, but every other part of the world it's not. So, Claudia, whenever you're ready, thank you.
Okay. Of course, we know it's one of my favorite topics. It's not making any influence whatsoever on my husband, but maybe all of us together will do the right job. Actually, I found out something very, very interesting, because NPR radio has a certain kind of program they call the Pulse. And my ears picked right up, because they started to talk about yellow fever in 1793. They started to talk about what Philadelphia was like back then. There were breweries, there were tanneries, there were a lot of merchants, and there was a huge amount of stink. There was raw sewage, there was trash, and when the epidemic hit, they really were nonplussed as to what was causing it. People got jaundiced, they got sick in the morning, they started to spit out blood at night, and they were dead before bedtime. And Benjamin Rush was a leading physician then, and remember, there were just 13 colonies. It actually sparked the beginning of public health, because it took them a while to connect the mosquito, but the fact of the matter is, there were a lot of intelligent people that said, you know, raw sewage, stink, and that they began a more formal program about how to address some of these issues. So I just wanted to let you know that actually Philadelphia, our hometown, was the beginning of the foundation that through the years led to OSHA, where people then were saying your occupation could make you more vulnerable to certain things. And my grandfather was a GP down in Bridesburg, and he worked as an industrial physician part-time. And he worked for a gentleman that made a whole lot of money on fine leathers. And my grandfather was an expert on anthrax. He would know whether the people working there with the hides had contracted anthrax. So OSHA has developed through the years because people recognized if you were being forced to work in an environment that was a huge risk, asbestos and Ambler, that some rules needed to take place. And for us, you know, it's the PPE. It's the personal protective equipment, which we make available. It's the gloves. It's soap and water. And like Sam pointed out in one of our in-services, some of us have this extremely dry skin and we crack, and that actually makes us more vulnerable to the MRSA. So moisturize, moisturize, depending on your skin type. Some people are able to use additional the alcohol now with the aloe vera, and some people really can't. it doesn't make any sense for me to give you all nail brushes. It's not practical. That in whatever cases, you're doing this in between, and then where do you put the wet brush? So, but the fact of the matter is, it is under our fingernails. So that is why as an agency, we say, wear gloves when we're preparing food. And of course, wear gloves when you're cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the bathroom. And we do have a selection of different products now that can be much safer for you to use and safer for the client as well. I mean, my grandmom and my mom, it was Clorox. You could walk in the house, and then they also had hot water. You never thought of washing something in cold. And they also had sunshine. They also hung the washout. And we know now that's not really practical for the busy lives or for the time element that you're in the case. You need to get the service done. We want it done safely because we do care about you, not just the client patients. So I don't want you inhaling, spray, bubbles of it, are irritating your eyes and your nose. If you don't have proper ventilation in the room where you're working, that's a concern. And if they have a product that you don't really believe is safe, I want you to say something to them. Can I make a suggestion on your shopping list? Could you put? And give them a suggestion, because now the fact of the matter is, at Giant and many of the other food stores, there are alternatives. And they aren't more money. Some of them are, depending on the brand. It's $4.69, but no, this is $2.69. And that is cheaper than the Lysol and the Clorox lookalikes. And it's also natural products, which are safer for you to use and safer for the client as well. Regular cleaning has always been important. And I kind of have a habit of saying, which would you rather do, cleaning a clean kitchen or clean a dirty one? Because we have both. But if we're in once a week, we want to be cleaning the kitchen and the bathroom. And sweeping is not enough for the floor. I've talked them in to a Swifter, so please say you can use it. And then when the pads are getting low, please say, we need to put this on your shopping list. I sometimes will donate something if I know people are really strapped financially, but on the other hand, a lot of our clients can really afford something basic, which makes it safer and easier for you. We don't have a lot of laundry tubs, we don't have a lot of places where we can really handle buckets correctly, and then we're leaving something in the home that's not safe. So where you can, please be educators and help people see that you can do the cleaning job, but you can do it in a better way. The fact is that we do see things in the magazine. We did discuss this before we actually started on camera about the pets that we have. And it won't be on your plan of care, but if you like cats and you want to help out, you must wear a mask and gloves. Feces are feces. We don't walk dogs because it's not safe to leave your client. And people now are being stressed to go to the gym. And I think to myself, I've been wiping the Giant carts when they were Gennardi carts, when they were Penn fruit carts. I kind of hold back about this gym equipment that other people have been sweaty using, and do they really wipe them? Because I don't have a membership in, I don't know.
It's always the same. There are people who always clean it when they are in the gym, and there are the others.
Okay. So we have to be alert, don't we?
Yep. Yes. Yep.
But I came across something which really did give me thought. This is an article. Mary Jordan went to Africa to make a movie, and instead had a terrifying brush with that one. Now she works to save lives with water. The pain felt like knives stabbing through her gut. Mary Jordan, an award-winning filmmaker, had been working on a documentary on the Hamer tribe, H-A-M-E-R, in a remote region of Ethiopia for 3 months in 2007. She had witnessed their struggles for water. see young girls make long, back-breaking treks to haul fresh water to their villages, heard stories of their being raped en route. Now, ironically, the struggle had become personal. Jordan had a water-borne disease and was at the mercy of a place with no hospital. No running water. I was afraid I would die, she says. But an Ethiopian girl helped load Jordan into a wheelbarrow and roll her to her SUV, get her medicine, and nurse her back to health. At the end of the ordeal, the girl wouldn't accept any thanks. Instead, she asked Jordan to help make the world understand the precariousness of the water supply. And I share that just to remind us that we turn the spigot on, and it is there. So we have the opportunity to reasonably clean in our own homes and with other people, and to help prevent some of these diseases. The other part of our talk tonight is to be on tuberculosis. And so I'm going to hand a TB assessment out. And I'm hoping that some of you have some pens and can do your own. Or we've got a couple up front. And we're going to see what our results are.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope that Victoria understands that she can come in. Maybe if we keep the door ajar.
Is she gonna come in, or she said she was?
I told her to come down after she's.
I think she's doing care work.
She is.
Very wanted her to feel welcome.
Mm-hmm. You see?
Are you all right? Because I think
Yeah,
there's,
you share pen.
okay, thank you. Because there is an extra one up front.
And it's like, that's not the name, oh, TPS. Otherwise. TB wrist. Yeah, they're not have it. Those not have it. These are here. Probably this. What about that? Are you going now? Injection.
No, I think pretty much this is going to confirm that you're at lower risk. Because just like Sam said, and you'll see some things on the list, you're not homeless, you're not in jail, you know, obvious things. But I think this kind of alerts you that if you're working with families that have a son that is in jail, or has been in jail, or has been homeless. Sometimes things are introduced into a household that isn't always obvious.
What, which one? Wait a second. 16.
Yeah.
If
If
them
them
are
close
allergies,
contact of person with T, with active T.
especially if them are cough by you. We do put this on.
Yeah, you
The
do.
over here is score. Yeah, explain this to us. Oh, this is just a press.
Patient score. What do? You put the score over here?
Each one of these things has a score.
Wait, is this for a patient or we just doing something?
Well, for instance, if you have a persistent cough for 3 weeks duration, you put a 2 on your side, patient score.
Oh, so
You
we
put
are
the
the
2.
patient, okay.
If you've had a fever for 3 weeks duration, you put a 2
Okay.
under
If you
patient
did,
score.
you put 0.
So
Just
we are the
add
patient.
alcohol.
And then at the end, you're adding it up.
That you're a
So
drinker?
what if you don't have it, you put a
Okay.
0?
Alcohol.
0, yeah, you don't
Okay.
have a score. If you-
That's what we're trying to find out.
Yeah, no, you don't have a score.
You get.
And hopefully, you're gonna have no zeros.
So what do you mean is
But we do
0 means
have,
no,
Yeah.
that you didn't have a persistent cough. 2
Oh.
would mean yes, you did.
Oh, okay.
I guess 1 would mean, not that persistent or something.
So this is 0.
Oh, so we're
That's zero.
answering this as we're the patient now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
We're the
so
patient,
yes.
that's
start
what.
over.
So we
yes,
doing, we are the
It's
Well,
patient.
we messed it up.
no.
Well,
That's okay.
It's a good test, it's just
Okay.
hard to figure out how to do
So
it.
that's why I'm trying to.
I think what I want you to do
Well, you can.
is keep it in mind.
Alright, so do any of these pertain to you?
Welcome.
Oh, there she
Hello.
is.
Victoria, welcome, come on in. We're doing our TB test. If you wanna
This is
first
obvious.
put your things down and come over and get some sandwiches, get some beverage. And what we're discussing right now is
You have a persistent.
TB, and there's a TB test.
So answer these as if they pertain to, have you had a cough for 3 weeks?
You know, I'm the nice one.
Okay, so then you write no.
No, really? They're talking about
Are these
now.
cranberries?
No, there's strawberries and walnuts.
Ah,
Okay, and I have more. And Victoria, I don't know, there's chicken salad, rotisserie chicken salad, roast beef with white cheddar, and ham with brie. And just help yourself, the plates are there, there's a salad, and there's beverages. And it's a good time for you to go get something.
Thank you.
then you should put yes.
Patient as is.
Give yourself a 1.
Current TB and treatment.
This is, I mean, I'll leave this blank, I don't know, seven.
Have you lost 10 pounds or more
Patient of his
in the last month?
Oh, this.
chest and X-ray.
Unexpected weight loss, pretty much that's what that is.
Patient has possible, I'll leave those two.
I'm gonna eat it anyway.
This is
HIV positive 0, down 0.
Now, see, a persistent cough can
Have you ever had
certainly
TB? No.
due to some different things.
What about this one? Have you ever had blood in your sputum?
In jail now.
Active alcohol.
Oh, foreign bond.
Patient.
Yeah.
So history of TB now.
What is it? Patient.
I leave those two blank.
Have you ever had a TB shot positive?
I'm going less 0.
Zero.
Patient has a possible horrible TB or chest X-ray. You don't get your X-ray, right?
So my suggestion is that you keep this.
Yeah, one.
Okay.
Yeah, one.
Half a point.
Uh,
You're healthy as a horse.
You may never need
Are you
the
on
information.
each other?
No, you're answering it as if you're the patient. Yeah. Yep.
Close
And you're gonna score yourself at the bottom.
Uh-oh.
total risk for patient. Did you do this, you know? I don't.
Are you
Yeah, I see
currently
I don't do
in
this,
jail?
and I don't.
She just got out.
This is 8.
Foreign born, yes, so you give yourself half. You're going to
But leave that, I think I won, cause
What
even when
you said.
I think probably that I won, because it's come back positive, don't care. So that was one.
Patient as
last one's now, so you got 1.5.
Yeah, it always do.
So you're at
Everything else is
nothing.
zero.
Very low
Give me
risk.
a foreign bond.
So this one's not, so you got a 1.5.
Foreign bond, Yeah. But it's not
They're
active.
latent, they're latent
No, she
TB, that's
just
a
is doing
possibility.
this
If they
just
have
to
a
see what we
reaction,
got.
they usually have to have a chest x-ray to
So
clear
that's
them,
why.
to say that
No,
they
it's not
don't
active.
have any.
What is the low risk for TB?
Yeah, well,
Okay,
see,
one.
look,
I'm
your
finished.
total score
I'm gonna use this one.
is 2 points, your low
Apple
risk.
cider's pretty good.
See,
But
if when you
six.
add all this up and you're only 1,
6.
you're low risk. But the
Oh,
thing is,
6
they
patients.
diseducate you.
As it's
You're going in to
TB
take care of patients,
treatment.
and the
I'm not
grandmother
in the treatment.
might have night sweats, might have a persistent cough, might have a
Yeah,
little
but
bit.
my one is always positive.
And she doesn't wanna go to a
positive,
nursing
but number
home.
chest X-ray.
So the family's sort of aware. But you
Probably.
can say, it would be a good idea if she sees the doctor and has a chest x-ray.
Okay.
Because we have some people in
2.5.
where the grandchildren
But
got
husband
it.
must say it always.
Because
Yeah.
she had it. And
So-
I know
so,
they're really good.
This one?
Yeah.
okay, well, it's a tool, you know, that you can keep in mind. And I'm gonna share a little more information about TB.
You're not doing treatment. Okay.
All right?
We
It-
finished?
it
We
generated-
finished?
Some conversation here. So from the 1880s to 1950, America waged a furious full-scale war on an enemy that was until recently almost forgotten. The enemy was slow-moving creature measuring all of 1/25,000th of an inch. That's what Chuck Blau said in our OSHA thing, that the TB bacillus, that it is such a fine infiltration of the air from a car. So we need to recognize that, so that public health nurses that are working in the inner city among a homeless population, obviously the risk would be higher. But you are educators. We're in all different kind of homes in our work and our outreach. And so to just be aware that maybe there's a neighbor that has a grandparent that is having night sweats and chronic cough, and everybody wants to just say, oh, because he was a smoker. No, it wouldn't hurt to have a chest x-ray.
Oh, yeah.
So it helps if we can make some positive suggestions. But TB was even more than the world's deadliest disease. It was a mythology and an industry. There were so many quacks that made a huge amount of money off of very vulnerable people that were sick. Because until the proper antibiotics, the combination of the 3 medications, and now with a lot of different strains, there's even more things added, but until they were discovered, and we had the x-ray ability to actually see. But I want you also to understand that the TB bacillus can also enter the kidneys, so people can have TB and not just have the lung manifestations. So again, it's just good for us to be educated. Do you have any further questions or comments? Have you ever had a patient? Yes, Sam?
I really like that test, Claudia. It's a really great test because it gives you all the indicators. So that is very informative. And it's true, we've had patients with latent TB that started to have these symptoms. And it was important that we knew that so we wouldn't put you at risk. So if you're noticing a client that's exhibiting some of these symptoms that, you know, seem to be persistent, not just a flu or a cold. All those things that were on that paper, you can keep that.
Coughing, fever.
Yeah, it's persistent though, like a persistent cough. The weight loss usually, the thing about tuberculosis, when it's active, you will see signs.
Oh, yeah.
That's why hospitals haven't been testing every year. Now home care, we don't either, but we have to do that. We have to do, and I think Victoria missed this, we have to fill out that questionnaire every year. They're not requiring yearly TBs anymore, as long as you have a documented 2-step where you've worked. And same with chest x-rays. They're not requiring them all the time anymore, as long as you're filling out those things. But if you ever feel those symptoms or you see a client with those symptoms, please let your nurse know, because they can go see. Because we don't want to risk bringing it to other people and things. Like I said, the incidence of TB in this country is extremely low. I mean, North America is so low in TB compared to the rest of the world. But, and just same with BCGs, I know a lot of people who have had BCG injections, which they give to people in other countries other than North America. And it's very prevalent. People just think it's the islands. It's not. It's Russia. It's all over Europe. It's a lot of parts of the world. And why you test positive is because they inject a live virus in a young person to stimulate their own immune system to build an immunity towards the active TB. So when you do a PPD test, it checks for the antibody. And of course, eventually, it'll come up positive now with the two-step going on. We've had a lot of our people who never tested positive with the one-step, now testing positive. The simple chest x-ray is best if you had BCGs, or the blood test, which is called a T-spot, which is a very good test. It measures the level of TB in your blood, so it's even more effective. And it is the equivalent of a two-step as far as compliance is. I know this sounds very confusing, but it's really kind of simple. And if you have any questions, everyone, I don't know if you met Victoria, she's joining us.
Oh, good.
Nice to meet you.
You're with a bunch of women who have worked for us for long periods of time from all different areas, and we have a diverse group of workers. And Victoria has a lot of great experience. She's been a CNA for 15 or more years, and she's done hospice, she's done home care, she's done a lot. So we're happy to have her aboard. So if there's ever any questions about the TB stuff, please just ask. It's important that you do those questionnaires.
Okay, I think it's time for our giveaways. I didn't check with you, Sam, about whether there is